Right. Okay, nothing's falling off. Yay. Give people a few minutes. It is Friday. I have spent most of the week not knowing what day it is, because it's just been one of those weeks. And then I woke up to them tree trimming today, and my sinus is absolutely trying to implode on me because of the tree trimming. But they did a great job, and Bean shockingly didn't care, which I was surprised about because she usually cares very, very, very much. Okay, let me see. Okay. Oh, cool. I am getting a rundown from YouTube about what all the buttons do on my side of things, as though I haven't figured that out already. So very funny to me. And if you're curious what I may be working on tonight, I went ahead and linked all the patterns in the description box. Right now, I'm working on very, very tiny thread and hook. This is a size 20 thread from Omega Yarn Company, and I'm on a 0.75 hook. So this is going to be a dickie. So when it's done, it'll come up and there'll be a collar piece and it'll wrap around, but waiting for that to actually happen. Hey, Trish, I figured that was probably you. You are very punctual, and I love it. And we have another person hanging around. So, hello to that person. Thank you. Yes, I just got them a couple of weeks ago. These are from Zeelool, like Zeelool. All my previous ones are from the channel, I think, were from Zinni, but Zinni's options this year did not thrill me, and these did. I am officially someone who needs progressive lenses, so I'm back down to one pair of glasses, which is actually quite nice, because I don't have to wonder why I have a headache and then realize I've been wearing the wrong glasses for an hour. Excuse me. I don't know why I picked this to work on first. This is very tiny yarn. It's coming along beautifully. I'm very happy with it. Good, good thread practice. How is the weather down by you? Did you guys get any of the second snowpocalypse? We got a dusting that was gone in a day. And now it's been like 45 degrees all week. So I'll take it. I'm traveling for work next week and have no idea what the weather's going to be like, and just hoping it's nice to us. But we only have to go to one place. 2 days. Oh, okay, so you didn't get a lot of snow, but it did just keep coming down. Yeah, that was sort of the best case scenario, I think, for a lot of people was it didn't accumulate, but it kind of stuck around. It did that here too. It was pretty, which is not something anybody who dealt with it is probably feeling like right now, and I get that. Yeah, the snow we got originally, it was on the ground for like 2 weeks, and then we finally got enough of a thaw. Oh yeah, we got the winds too. So this is a new thing to me, like the level of wind that happens as weather here. I'm not used to it. I'm used to like thunderstorm winds, but not like the lights are flickering every half hour, but you're fine kind of winds. It's the first few times I was like, what is that noise? Is there a train nearby? Nope, just the wind. Maybe it's the old growth trees. I don't know. Hello, people. Please feel free to say hi in the chat, or you can just hang out and Enjoy the sound of my voice. Isn't it lovely? I am on Sudafed today, so that. I'm not sick, just they were tree trimming today and my sinuses didn't like it, so we Sudafeded our way through that. I am working on a dicky right now, but I have some other projects near me I might switch to because this is very tiny work. I am really liking it. It's a nice shell pattern. Had a real pain in the ass getting it started though. The pattern, uh, ooh, a 1943 doily. I bet that's gorgeous. Um, this pattern says size 20 thread, which that's what this is, on a 1.25 millimeter hook. And I have at least two 1.25 millimeter hooks. And so it had a gauge, but it also is it's one of these that starts and says your chain should be X number of inches. And whenever I see that, I just use the chain as my test. As long as the number of change is the same number of inches as it tells me to be, I've always been fine. And the 1.25 I tried the first time made it way too long. And I thought, ooh, maybe the hook is the wrong size. And I looked up, so I grabbed my other 1.25, tried it, still way too long, and I was like, And I thought, you know what? Let's just go ahead and drop down a hook size. Maybe that's all it needs. Because like sometimes modern hooks and modern yarn don't always size out perfectly with vintage patterns. So I'm doing that. Still doesn't work. This is a 0.75. So I went down 2 hook sizes. This is actually still larger than it should be. And I do not know why it's wrong because I tried so hard to size it out, and I know that this is an actual size 20 thread because that was my other thought. Because there's a couple of threads that I've used before that they say they're a certain size and they're not actually. Golo thread on Amazon is not trustworthy, and the Lisbeth threads, which are very pretty, are like have a chart that says like their size 40 is like 3 different sizes and other vintage thread sizes. It's all very weird. But like Omega has always been what it says it's going to be, and I've had it size out correctly, like this exact thread that I'm using on a 1.25 millimeter. So I'm curious. I wish I could get my hands on the actual original pattern. That's kind of always where I end up is like, I really want to see the actual original pattern. I wish I could kind of go back in time and see if like, did they give the wrong length on the starting chain and maybe there was an errata at some point. So it was an adventure to get this thing started, but now that I'm into it deep enough that like there's a proper square, I am really enjoying it. It takes a while to get big enough to like it, if that makes sense. Hello, people. Imagination tickler motif. So was imagination tickler motif a phrase and a pattern you were looking at, or did you just see it somewhere? I'm curious. I've never heard it called that because it's just because it sounds like it's just you make a bunch of pretty doily bits and sew them together in whatever pattern you want. Oh, imagine like it tickles your imagination. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I don't know what I was picturing, but it was like tickling. I do think the Elizabeth is a very good thread. I think it's a lovely thread, but I only realized that their sizing is let's say interesting. Their sizing is interesting after something didn't work out that I needed in a size 40, and then it turns out it's like actually in the vintage sizes is like 2 different sizes. And I know that things were weird back in the day, but that was a strange thing, especially when I've never had a problem with the Omega threads. And hello, even more people. if you have not used Omega Yarn or Threads, I think there's now more than one website that sells them on English language websites. They are a Mexican company, and the only place I'd ever seen them before I found Creative Yarn Source, which is where I buy it, was at Hobby Lobby. So finding Creative Yarn Source was great because now they have like 20, 30, 40, and you can get them in a bunch of different colors. So it's not just kind of like if you go to Michael's or Walmart or something for a size 30 thread, it's going to be white or black usually white. So uh, I like having colors available so I don't have to learn to dye things. Royal Society. Oh, nice. Oh yeah, free vintage crochet coming in clutch again. That's not shocking anybody, at least if you watch my stuff. I just finished filming. Oh, that hood that I made, the crochet hood I was working on a while ago. I just finished filming the video for that, and that was a free vintage crochet pattern. Hold on. Tiny thread, tiny thread. All right. And so I got to sing its praises again. Okay, so if the imagination ones are mandala type, Trish, does that mean that they have is it like you're doing different style of mandalas and joining those together? I'm having Trish give us a crash course here, everybody. Yeah, Royal Society, I have a lot. I've seen a lot. I don't have a lot. And I think generally, if they don't have a number, I don't remember what size the quarter crochet is, but yeah, if it's like 6-strand crochet cotton, like you're probably working on a 30. But yeah, it was super popular. I think there was a slight resurgence in the 30s and maybe into the 40s because I have the cape I made way back, the beautiful thread cape. That was a Royal Society pattern. And then I have a 1930s evening gown that is a Royal Society's pattern. So I'm wondering if they were like super popular and then there was a resurgence. Which, speaking of, no, that thought's gone. That's the side effect of the Sudafed. I will have several thoughts probably float away at some point tonight, but all in good fun. All right, I'm gonna finish this shell and then move on to something I don't have to squint at. I didn't actually mean to pick this one up, but it was closest. So, okay, putting that aside. This has to be, I think 12 3/4 inches before I can do the neckline. And we're not there, but it's coming along. And I think I'll have to add a little bit for the neck, but the fact that it's a little bigger than it's supposed to be, oh, dang it, is actually really good for me when it comes to stuff like neck sizing because I do not have a vintage neck, much like I don't have a vintage ass. Here we go. There I am. Okay, I see what you're saying about, yeah, like 14 around the chain space, do that. Okay, yep. That sounds really fun. I bet they're really pretty. All right, moving on to a worsted weight project. If you go into the description, these are I haven't made more than one, is the beginning of the granny mitts. So these are hand warmers. I can show you. Nope, that's not the hand warmer. That's the granny square I made with the leftover yarn. I am, as always, very organized, as you can see. Oh yeah, Trish, I've done that where you have to like zoom in real far and figure out what they mean when they say double crochet. I've been there. So these are the hand warmers that I'm working on in the other yarn. This is left over from the big cardigan I was working on. So that's how they fit. This is Juniper Moon Farm Cotton Merino Shadows. And then these are made from, this is Ella Sue, no, Ella Ray, R-A-E, Ella Ray Squish. Both of these are worsted weights. Ella Ray is an acrylic polyester blend that I bought because a friend said the request was mermaid hand mitts, so mermaidy colors. That is still not the thing I was looking for. I don't know when US terms became a thing. I imagine it was the fact that, like, they must, I have to wonder who started crocheting first, because I feel like that's what happened was whoever crocheted first, whoever came up after that, sort of tweaked the language a little bit because they felt it was a better fit or something, like, because, like, depending on the I don't know. I don't think it was a chainette yarn, but it's definitely looser, more loosely woven. This is the middle part here is, there we go. If I can get a decent shot of it. Come on. It's not chainette, but it's open. I would describe it as an open air yarn. And it works out very nicely. That particular style is very plasticky because it's polyester and acrylic, but I mean, it looks pretty, so I'm happy with it. But yeah, I would think US terms, I don't know who crocheted first. But I would think it would be a matter of, well, they call it that, but that's not what it looks like. Like, well, if I only, because single crochets are sometimes called, no, slip stitches in, I'm trying to remember. There's a thing about single crochets and slip stitches where single crochet actually means slip stitch in UK terms sometimes, but not always, which is only entirely confusing. And then I'm always like, I've learned that treble is kind of the way to know if it's probably going to be British. If they say treble instead of triple, I'm like, it's probably a British pattern. Yeah, so UK single crochet is a slip stitch. Yeah, sometimes it is. Because so often double crochet in UK patterns means a US single crochet. And I have to wonder if it has to do with how many times you wrap the yarn, because for a slip stitch, of course you go through and you pull it through and then you pull it all the way through. And then with a single, which I'm actually making, it's, let me see if I, there we go. You go in and then when you pull it up, you pull through these two at first. So maybe that's why they call it double crochet. I don't know. That's just a guess. Yeah, yeah, trebles and double trebles. The cape I made ages ago was like that. It was all trebles and double trebles, and it takes so long to do a double treble crochet and thread. It takes so long. And it's just that's why that cape took 5.5 months of like constant effort. It's so wide so that it would be roughly, and it was a whole thing. Oh, okay, yeah, I can see it being the loops around the post. That makes sense too. Where am I? I don't know what I'm doing. Hello. The numbers are going up and down, so every time it goes up, I'm saying hello. If you would like to know what I'm working on, I've got patterns linked in the description. This right now is the free pattern, which is a set of hand mitts. I have made several of them, and I really like them. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that was 12. And the thing I really like about these mitts is that you can do all the granny squares and then go and do all the finishing work. You don't have to make a single mitt at the same time. And it's weird, but that works for me better than like making a full mitt at once. I don't know why. And so now this is left over from a rug that I made, the video of which I just put into the queue for April. And so I'm using what's left over to make as many pairs as I can. And then I'm gonna keep a pair for myself because all the ones I showed off a minute ago were not for me. And then every other pair I make from this yarn will be donated. This is Michael's Loops and Threads Facets, by the way. It's their Lion Brand Landscape dupe. Yeah, I didn't know when I started making that cape that it had a bunch of double trebles because you would think I would read through my patterns like a responsible person before I decided I was going to make something. I never do. Hello, Scotland! Elizabeth Jones from Scotland. Oh, I don't know why Elizabeth Jones from Scotland sounds awesome, but it does. Oh, you just winged a pair of hand mitts like that. Nice. Like I can wing them, but for some reason I have problems like sitting down and actually doing that. But I really like Sean's got a pair. I made 3 pairs for friends. I meant to make a pair for myself. I didn't have enough yarn at the end. The blue and black pair for a different friend, and so yeah, it's just like I've been making so many mitts. Wichita, Kansas. You wouldn't happen to be related to me, would you, Margarita? Are you under an assumed name on here? I have family in Wichita. I was actually born in Garden City. Even though I was supposed to be born in Hugoton, but it all worked out because in Garden City they had a NICU, and that is why I'm here today. I was a preemie, so I was born of spite. I will live by spite. Oh, Elizabeth, do you have a photo you could put like link so we could see your potato? Okay, your name is Marguerite. Nice. I was asking about the name because I have family whose names start with M that sounds similar. So I was wondering if you were maybe one of them and that was just your screen name. That's a great name, Marguerite. I love that. You do not hear it very much, and that's a shame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I have a whole side of my family was in Kansas at one point. They have gotten around since then. Oh, nice. YouTube recommends me crochet patterns, but I don't actually like working from videos. Which is why whenever I like offer patterns, I always have a written version because I do better with stuff I can read and reread. Oh, little pals for preemies. That's so cute. Marguerite, come on, Lincoln, really? The other half of my family is from Nebraska. So funny. Well, my family's actually from a few different places because there's been divorces and such things. But my biological dad's family was all from Kansas. My mother's family, all from like South Dakota, Nebraska. And then my adopted dad's family is originally from Missouri, but moved up to Wisconsin for the work post World War II. And so now it's kind of a combination of some of them are still in the South, some of them are still up in Wisconsin. But those are the major geographic locations. And then I'm in none of those. I am in Pittsburgh. And it's been a really nice week just in the city in general. Like, wait, have I gone into the city this week? Hold on. Maybe? We're not like super deep into the suburbs, but we are like in a small neighborhood just off the highway, so we're not like in the middle of the city. But come to think, no, I didn't go in. I didn't go in. That's why. I usually go in every couple of weeks for work, but I did not go in this week. So no, I have not actually been in the city this week, but okay, now I don't have family in New York. So I think we're okay there. So I don't think we're like secretly fourth cousins or something, but who knows? Hold on, I have to count to 6. And of course I'm crocheting, so I don't know how to count. I have not heard of Wanta. Oh, it's Wantag. Oh, I was gonna make I haven't heard of Wanta, but I Wanta. That's oh god, I bet that's so much fun to say all the time. I'm over here being like, oh, that's a really fun town to say. I grew up next to Flippin, Arkansas, so like, I mean it as a compliment if I say you have a fun to pronounce town name. All right, that's one done. Oh, Edinburgh, yeah. I won't pretend to know. I won't pretend that I can find it on a map of Scotland, but I know it's in Scotland. And I think Edinburgh had the first Fringe festival. Like that's where everybody got the idea to do Fringe festival, or at least it's a very well respected theatrical tradition in Edinburgh. Yeah, you were down in the south part of the state, Trish. The south part of Arkansas is very very flat. I was in the Ozarks, um, and so smaller mountains. These are definitely larger mountains, but mountains. I like mountains. Um, and there we go. New one started. This is, by the way, these squares are the old school chain 4 make a loop instead of the now kind of more common magic ring, which is always fun. Yeah, you know what? I'll take the Beverly Hillbillies. They were having a great time. They they moved to the big city and lived their best life on all that oil money, and we're not ashamed of being of sounding like they did not come from LA. So when I was in college, I was an undergrad. I'd been there maybe. I'd been in undergrad for like less than a month, and a guy was talking to me, and he goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from Arkansas." And then next words out of his mouth were, "Oh, are your parents cousins?" Because that's something you say to someone you've never talked to before. And I responded, "No, but yours obviously were." He got really mad, guys. I don't know why. It's like insulting someone's entire family line is a rude thing to do. But that is a beef that stays with me. I never learned the guy's name. I think he was trying to hit on me. I don't know. Like it's amazing I'm married. Because casual dating sucked. and I never pick up on signals. Oh yeah, Paul Hennings, he did like Green Acres and Petticoat Junction, like that whole block of like there was a thing in the 60s and 70s about did you know that people have a twang in the South? It's kind of the best way I can think to put it. There is a horror movie from the 70s about the unsolved murders in Texarkana uh, called The Town That Dreaded Sundown that was actually written and directed by someone who was from the area. And he went on to make some other films as well and always stayed in Arkansas to film because he wanted to prove that you could be a filmmaker outside of you didn't have to go to Hollywood to be a filmmaker. You could make films and make interesting stories where you were from, and I always liked that about him. Although Boggy Creek is not good. You know, I oh, I just remembered they made a movie of Beverly Hillbillies. Oh God. Much like now. Well, I guess not much like now actually, because my first thought on like a TV show that got turned into a movie was Downton Abbey, and those were apparently uh I mean, the fans liked them. That's all that matters. I was never a huge fan of the show. But like nowadays, it's like if it's a movie based off a TV show, it's jumping off from the end of the show. Whereas in the 90s, it was like trying to be sort of a knowing in joke thing about making a movie about an old TV show. And I think The Addams Family was the best version of that. And that movie stands up. Both of those do. I love those movies. Haunted murder hillbilly stuff is popular. Yeah. Ooh, I gotta remember a haunted murder hillbilly. That's a really good description. Um, because that is a subgenre. That is very much a subgenre of horror. Sean and I were just actually talking about various subgenres because we were adding to our watch list. Um, we we have a small but growing horror movie podcast because we are not original. We are married people of a certain age with a podcast. But I think I think the first thing we ever did was the Texas Chainsaw movies, like the original 4. Yeah, we did 1, 2, 3, and then like the new beginning with a very young Matthew McConaughey. Um, that original one, like I see why it's so influential. It's so good, like cinematically, etc. Um, I I minored in mass media so I could watch movies in college, and Sean has a film studies minor, so we're those people. I apologize. Uh, Man, it must have been wild to go to the movies in the 70s. Like, because that was when the Hays Code finally got defeated. And so 70s film was a completely different animal than what happened in the 60s. Charlie Chainsaw. Oh, I love that. It's so great. But I haven't watched a lot. We did just watch It, like the new It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. Um, It Chapter 1 was like so good. And It Chapter 2 is like really, really good. And I realized the problem, it's not a problem I have, it's just that It Chapter 1 is so good because like they cast kids who are the right age for the roles. And then also you had it was about like kids dealing with grief and fear. And so just it was there's lots of movies about adults running from their trauma, which is part of what it is about. And then there's other stuff that's but like there's not a lot of like really sincere movies about kids dealing with scary shit. So it was excellent. All right. Don't double crochet. Don't double crochet. These are half double crochet granny squares. And you don't chain in between across the row. You work the granny stitch. Whoop, there it is. So you work the granny stitch in the open spot, and then you don't chain, you just go to the next open spot. And so it shapes it a little differently, and I really like it. Um, I'm someone who has made a lot of granny squares, but I always make them the same way, all double crochet. So I was like, half double, um, I am one of those people that will do something the exact same way every time, and then the moment someone shows me how to do it better, I'm like, I'm doing that the rest of my life now. Oh, you don't chain. Okay, yeah, I've always maybe it's because the first granny square I ever learned had the chains in between. So I've just always done it that way. But yeah, it's I've got a whole book upstairs of like various granny squares, and I'm sure that they have some that you don't do that with. But usually when I'm working granny squares, I'm just making it up as I go. So I default. Man, I still love this colorway so much. Hello. We've had a couple of people go and a couple of people come back, and somebody just went again. Is it the hair? Yeah. Although you can see where my gray streak is looking great right now. I'm super happy with it. Because it's always over on one side. I don't always know how gray I am. And so I like that it's coming through lately. Because I have very dark hair, so gray hair is like super shiny against it. So I like it. Also, like, it's just hair. If I ever decide I don't want the grays anymore, it'll be a different color soon enough. I saw one of those great. Oh, I was at McWalker's Yarn, which is here in Pittsburgh. Great store. Only been in there the one time, but absolutely lovely. Lots and lots of options, and they had that deck, and I've been seeing that deck around of like the Granny Square card decks, and I was curious about it. So, because but I try not to get too many things that are just like, here's how to make one thing in several different ways, because I'm actually really bad about remembering to use them as the references they are. And so they just sit there. Hello, lovely people. Oh, and I just tried to chain one. See what happens? Ooh, good call on that. Yeah, check the ISBN so you're not getting the knockoff of the Granny Square decks. Smart, very smart. Yeah. We're getting a lot of coming and going right now, which is very funny. Because I don't know how lives work in terms of like, can bots come onto lives? I mean, I assume they can. So I'm wondering if it's like bots showing up being like, not enough people, and then leaving again, which good on you. Don't need you. But I am also right now reading for the let's say 15th time, the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver, which is a book I first read when it was brand new, 25 years ago. And it's one of those books, every time I pick it up, I figure out something different in it, even though I could probably recite parts of the book at this point. But it's just written in a way that like there's always something kind of to discover again. Like there was a dangling modifier that did a lot of heavy lifting for how someone's ideas were changing, and I was just like, damn, I'm not sure I love to write. I'm a very good writer. I don't know if I'm ever that good. Oh, Marguerite, please tell me I was making a weird face. I have the best weird faces when I freeze. Um, Before I started doing the thumbnail on my videos, it would generate options and I would pick the goofiest face I was making because it made me laugh. I have a very Muppety face. Uh, I'm like if a Patu bird could talk to people. Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. I am not in competition with any other crocheter anywhere. Um, and it sounds like the kind of project that I probably don't make a lot, and I love seeing stuff that other people make. Uh, One of the things I figured out about myself very early on when I was figuring out what I wanted to do for this channel, even going way, way back to when it still had a real title, was a lot of the stuff that gets made on crochet YouTube channels, because they tend to be quicker projects, they're smaller projects, easier to teach people, is that's not the kind of stuff I really enjoy making the most. And so I wasn't gonna make myself do it just so I could have more stuff to put on my channel. But I do love when I do love sharing around stuff like that because, you know, you enjoyed making it. I've been offered the community tab. I've been thinking about it. But I might, yeah, if you're talking about it, I may just go ahead and hit the button on it. But yeah, I love seeing what's out there. Um, oh, you're the circle of death. Boo. Oh, that's a really good idea, Trish. I hadn't thought about using it like that. Yeah, I would love to see what people are making. Okay, well, Marguerite, just I'm gonna do a fake freeze with a weird face for you, just so you have it. So here we go. I can do better. Like, I can definitely do better, but I'll work on it. I'll see if I can't get a really good one going. I need a mid sneeze freeze. That's what I need. That's the best one. Always, when in doubt, use the mid. There we go. But yeah, I know because I had to watch my own face to edit so much that my mouth, for some reason, sort of slides down into the side when I talk. And so there are a number of like photos of me and stills of me where I'm just like, um, I don't know where that comes from. It's always hard to tell because, like, I was raised by a mother from Nebraska, but in a place with a twang. My adopted dad came into my life when I was 14. He's got a boot heel twang with a Wisconsin chaser, but then I was also in speech therapy for 2 years because of pronunciation issues. So who knows why my mouth makes the shapes they make? It makes. I have one mouth. Pretty sure. Um, so I never know. But then I always think that I only twang when I'm mad, and then somebody's like, "Why do you talk like that?" I'm like, "Oh, there it is." Um, right. But I like my twang. It's, you know, I grew up in a very pretty piece of country. I just don't want to live there. It's the Ozark Mountains are absolutely beautiful, and it's also 110 in the shade with 95% humidity in the summers, with mosquitoes and those bugs that scream at you. So no thanks. I'm good. Although I don't know what Pittsburgh does for. I know we have stink bugs, and they're invasive, Hello, people. Goodbye, people. Um, all right. Good night, Elizabeth. Thanks for hopping on. Um, and we found out what the stink bugs look like because Bean sniffed at a bug and then freaked out, and so we looked it up, and she was freaking out because it had spritzed her. Uh, are you on the injured list, Marguerite? I have. I've been on the injured list myself several times, and actually, I should probably after next week uh, really make myself spend a few nights in a row with my book. She was born in. I no, that's so funny because that's basically what happened to me was um I had a real thick Bostonian accent basically on my vowelized R's. And so it was like I kid you not, everybody did this to me when I was a kid and they heard me talk. Oh, did you park your car at Harvard Yard? Which is apparently what I sounded like. I couldn't hear myself. Um, but it was that's what I sounded like. And I had to go through speech therapy because the substitute teachers in my school system in the Ozark Mountains could not understand me. Um, and fair. You overexerted your thumb? Trish. Oh, that's Trish. I know where you are, and I know where you were. Yeah. Did you like give too many thumbs up, thumbs down? Were you hitchhiking? I don't know which way the camera goes. Um, wicked smart. I am wicked smart. Um, oh my goodness. I I have given myself joint pain in the top parts of my fingers before. Um, and oh, actually, I did at one point do something similar to my thumb, and I had to do. You might be doing. You're kind of squeezing your own hand and bending your thumb a few times. Like that was one of the exercises the doctor gave me. Um, that was the year that I broke all of my yarn records by far, and my goal is to never repeat that. Um, not that it wasn't impressive, but uh, I injured myself crocheting too much because I didn't have a job and needed something to do, and so I just kept stitching when I long after I knew I should have rested. That might have been the same year I pulled my tip muscle. That was not fun, you guys. Oh, base of oh yeah, right on that tendon, base of thumb on the tendon. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I also don't know that I would go through a surgery if there were no guarantees it would take the pain away. Like, because you can strengthen, you can rest it, you can ice it. There's lots of options. Um, but yeah, so when you crochet, of course, you're using your whole arm, your shoulder, your back, and also your pec. And I had been crocheting so much and so quickly that I got myself right on the pec. Oh, the hooded cow took you out? Oh, I bet it's so pretty though. Like, I always say, do as I say, not as I do. Take care of yourself, rest, follow all the instructions to the letter. But I also hope it's really pretty and you like it. Because, like, then at least you can be like, here's the pretty thing. Oh my God. So you injured yourself on an order that required a double. Oh. The only time these days I am willing to consider double stranding yarn is if it is that cute or it's thread. it it just takes you out. Uh Their amigurumi is a big thing at conventions. So if you do any sort of convention, like whether it's a craft fair or like a comic book convention, we go to both. You see a lot of amigurumi because they they sell very well. And just I worry so much for the people who are making them because it's all those super tight, tiny, it's pulling through their single crochets with a thick yarn on a size, a 3 millimeter on a heavy worsted weight, and it will absolutely eat your hands up. I made a little hanging basket using a t-shirt yarn, and it was the most intense workout my hands have gotten in a while. Like I had to put it down twice, and it only took me a couple of hours to make, but like I had to put it down and like just rest my hands because that t-shirt yarn is both thick and stretchy, which is a dangerous combination. But also very sturdy, so the basket will hold its shape and actually be able to hold things, which will be nice. Um, I have made several new winter things this year, and so we needed new baskets for things. So, do you like doing all the little detail work on amigurumis, Trish? Like, I have found patterns that are some of the most adorable things, and I always have to stop and break them down by like what the pieces are going to be to know if it's going to make me crazy. I do need a ooh, I should do that. I actually used the rest of the yarn from that rug, that 60s rug, to make I made a shopping bag from a 1970s pattern and then realized when they said bulky they meant super bulky. So I made a second one with the rest of it and made it a little bit larger. Um yeah, I honestly think like if for some reason like the only reason you should ever do a two-stranded project again is because you are charging them triple and they agreed to it. Yeah. There's a it's Crochet by Ricky, Rikki. Um she does amigurumis for conventions and does all kinds of detail work. And um I'm so glad I found her because I've been able to get a couple of things for Sean that I was like, never gonna make this, but she did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like having to it's so hard when what's the joke? It's why do all my favorite things give me carpal tunnel? Which is accurate. Well, I guess not book reading, but if your hand's already hurt and you're trying to hold a book, it's no fun. I just found I don't think I left the link open. Hold on. I can find it though. I just found somebody that did a bunch of amigurumis of the Disney Alice in Wonderland creatures. How did I find? Oh, I was looking at Alex Brooks. So Alice Brooks is a she was a designer, and it was they were patterns that got mailed to you. And so when I was looking her up, I was also getting a lot of Alice in Wonderland stuff, which not a bad place to be. But I found this person who does. There we go. There's the link to her Etsy, and you can look at. she's got a bunch of different ones, but you can spot all the Alice in Wonderland characters, and they're just so cute. Yeah, I'm trying to take better care of my joints because I am officially into my 40s, and anything I do now may not be reversible. So, trying to remember that when I'm working on stuff. 1, 2, 3. Oh, alrighty. Yeah, so each of these is just 4 rounds of this half double crochet, and then you work a round of single crochet, which is great because it just makes the joining that much easier because you've got this neat line of single crochet to follow. And then it's just slip stitches on the sides to like put them all together and put the various bits together. There's somebody on, it's on Reddit, I think it's in R Crocheting, and I think they've managed to crochet every single citizen of Bikini Bottom from SpongeBob SquarePants. And I admire that dedication, and they look great. Stitch markers, there they are. There we go. So I don't just go back over the same single crochet I just made. Oh, there's the one I was looking for. Thanks. So did they look like Disney Winnie the Pooh, or did they look like original illustration Winnie the Pooh? I mean, they're both awesome designs. I'm just curious which version of which version they went with. There we go. I think Squidward is all of us these days. I think we're all a little Squidward. All right, I am gonna. Oh, I really like the Wooble designs, like the simplicity of them, and I think like that's one of the things that makes amigurumi really welcoming to new people is that you can really simplify it down to just, sort of the bulbous shapes. And honestly, if the first thing you ever learn when you crochet is how to work in the round, you're going to be so much happier for it. Yeah. Yeah, I always like when I go to conventions and craft fairs to see what other people are making so I can see if I can find something that I can put on my shelf and be like, no, I did not make this, but isn't it awesome? 5, 6. Bear with me, I'm counting. 8, 9. All right. I've never read Winnie the Pooh. I have the first book. I bought it so I would actually read it because I've never actually read them. We had the Disney movies when I was a kid, and then there was a Saturday morning cartoon. So like, but my mother gifted me there is, so Pittsburgh they have a yarn crawl, which actually goes on 10 days, which is super exciting, except I think it hits right before Toronto Comic Con, which has been the story of my life with yarn crawls. The Portland yarn crawl was always right before Emerald City Comic Con. But I'm sure there's other stuff. I know that there's I think it's the Three Rivers Crochet Group has been in Pittsburgh and active for like 25 years. So like it's very much a yarn town, which is great. Which is such a weird sentence because like any good sized city is going to have yarn, but there's a vibe. Um, I actually keep up with someone who, like me, crochets their cosplays and goes so hard on them. Like has full Anna gowns from Frozen that she has free-handed. Absolutely beautiful stuff, and she won a bunch of awards and got to like the international cosplay competition, and they basically said, "Well, there's too much crochet here. Do something else." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" Um, oh, I love crochet cables. I'll have to look what's around. We're still learning what's going on around here, so it's been really fun. There's an indie market. There's like graphic novels and arts and sort of thing coming up in April that we're definitely going to hit. So, oh, there is such a problem with crochet kits being AI right now. Like it was already bad and it's getting worse. One of the things I see on our crocheting and on our crochet help, the Reddit boards, are people asking, "Is this a real pattern or am I getting screwed?" I actually bought a pattern last year. It was supposed to be a Highland cow pillow, so it had like the fringy head and everything. And I was making it. I bought the pattern to make the pillow to gift a friend's child, and I realized about uh, 2 or 3 rows in that it was AI, and I got so mad because what are you doing? And I contacted the seller. I'm like, this is clearly AI. And they said, oh no, we've updated the pattern. Here's the new updated pattern. And I'm like, okay. And I open it and it's still AI. Um, so I ended up just freehanding it and leaving a very negative review on the seller's page because no, no, if it doesn't look, your photos at the back of the pattern don't look anything like the thing you sold me. But also, your photos on the back of the pattern are also AI generated. So, um, there's some great dragon patterns out there. Uh, hey Trish, if you have an easy link to that Etsy pattern, feel free to drop it in and I'll look at it. I've gotten pretty good at being able to tell. Um, and I hate that I have to triple check it every time now, but uh, at least I have not. I've been able to help people not buy AI gunk. Uh, I guess the word is slop, but gunk. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, like once I find somebody who I can trust is actually making their patterns or like their photos or, real finished projects, I get very excited these days. YouTube, yeah, the amount of videos I've been recommended of other crocheters being like, here's how to spot AI patterns. I'm like, you guys are doing great. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, is this 12? All right, we are up to 3 again. Hello. I am working on granny squares. Up to 5. Hey, the pattern that I'm making is the free pattern that's linked in the description. The other patterns are other stuff that I've worked on one already. The other one I might switch over to in a minute, actually. We'll see. Yeah. Man, people who take the time to like video their patterns so you can actually see what their hands are doing, love those people. I've done a few stitch examples before, and I really do like making them, but they just take so much time because I don't want my hands to ever be in the way. Oh, what the hell is that? Your phone's beeping. Oh, well, now I've learned. You have to be an admin privilege to post links. That makes sense. Yeah. Ooh, man, I'm glad I wasn't on YouTube Live back before that was a rule, because that probably didn't start out as a rule. It's one of those rules that happens when when you first go, oh, everybody will be nice. No. Awesome. I will look at it in just a minute. What? 10 on getting in my okay. You know what I'm gonna do? Actually, I am gonna bring up that listing and then share my screen, and we can all look at it together. And we can judge. Hopefully not harshly. Hopefully we don't have to judge harshly, but if we need to, what is happening here? That is. There it is. I'm like, I heard my email ping at me. Ooh. Okay, let me. Hold on. Bear with me, everybody. There it is. I apparently have like 3 YouTube tabs open. So there is a way to share. I just have to remember how to do it. Not there. Not there. No. I have a lot of buttons I can push. That one? There it is. I found it. All right. Let's look at this. This is adorable. This is genuinely adorable. I do like that you can see the reflection. I'm looking. My big red flag is like, do the stitches look like real stitches? And actually, this third photo here. Let me get back. Okay, this third photo here is a really good example, because if you look at the legs, okay, there I am. If you look at the legs on this photo I have up, you can see that the stitches are actually slanting a little bit, and that is something I look for when I'm trying to figure out if a pattern is if the item is real or not. I also like that the hand is holding the tail. Let me see what else. The way the light is hitting looks very realistic. I think this just may be somebody who's really, really good at this. That's what this feels like to me. Because I have seen other people who do like the eyelashes and stuff. And there's a bumpiness to the horns that I also like, because it just looks like it's actually 3D. Oh my God, with the pink. That's so cute. Oh, and again, you can see like the texture in the, yeah, I think this one is actually, I am going to say this is very, very well made and beautifully photographed and real. And if I am wrong, I am very sorry. Um, oh, Pinterest, what happened to you? Yeah, that I think this is a genuine cow. Um, I can like I always have to be extra careful because like people who are really out here doing the work to, you know, make these patterns and make a living take beautiful shots that show off the stitches wonderfully, but what tricked me early on was confusing AI generated stitches for just a really good photograph. So I'm that's why I was looking for things like the slanting and the bumps on the horns and stuff. But that is freaking adorable. All right, close that. Close that. Close that. Close that. Close that. All right. I had like 7 tabs open. I did not need to have open. Which is the story of my life. I currently have like 7 tabs open on eBay to get printed versions of patterns that I can't find elsewhere. So I figured out the snout when I made the pillow for my friend, which is that bear snouts are very round. Cow snouts are like this. Um, and so I don't know how the tutorial is doing it, but I worked in the round on both sides of the chain, and so it was an oval. And then I sewed it on crookedly because that's how everything sews on when I don't pin it. And guess how often I remember to pin things? Most of the time, not. Um, yeah, if the dragon is the same person making the cow, like yes. Um, like, all right, where am I? Here I am. Couldn't remember what I was doing. I got distracted by fun things on the internet. Story of my whole life. Almost gonna finish here. I think I am gonna switch over to the other project. Not. I was working on a very small thread dicky. I will not be reviving that, but I do have a size 10 thread blouse I just started that has a very easy repeat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yay. All right. Clip. So I got hooks on hooks on hooks over here because I've been doing small stuff. I've been doing quick stuff just because I've got a lot of large projects right now. So I took a break but it means I've got a bunch of hooks that I meant to put away a week ago still lying around. And rescue my tiny scissors. There we go. All right. Ooh, all right. I will see what I think. I like having opinions. All right. Oh my god. Okay, I'm not going to share my screen since it apparently hiccups pretty hard, but this is a door. I'm putting this in the chat. I'm going to drop this in the chat so that we can all look at how cute these are. This is nuts. Look how cute. Yeah, I think this is actually someone doing it for real again. So yay. What cuties. Oh, and there's even video where he's moving them around. Even better. Okay, yeah, I like those. They're so cute. Oh my god. The tiny wings. That's the one thing I would say. I wish there was a background view just to see what it looks like, but I think that's a real pattern again too. So I have a work trip next week, and I swear all I have done this week is wait for stuff to get here from Amazon so I can take it on my trip. Because I had to get steel-toed shoes. Luckily, they don't have to be boots; they just have to be steel-toed, whatever. And so I found like a loafer-like pair. I had to get more nose spray because I was almost out. Had to get. Okay, we had to get new pillows, which was not related, but still waiting for them. And like my shoulder was real messed up a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't sure what I had done, and then I realized it was just time to get a new pillow. And now that I have, everything's better. Hello, new people. I just switched projects, so this is the beginning of a blouse. And the pattern link is down in the description. This is a size 10 thread, and I am doing this on a 1.75 millimeter hook because this pattern, it's a mail order pattern from the 1960s, and the way that it works is to do the two different sizes that they offered, you would work the pattern exactly the same, but for the larger size, you go up a hook size, and so I am on the 175. And I think the original hook size, I think it was a 3, so it would have been probably a 125 millimeter. I know it was a 125 millimeter in the UK because I got to deal with that earlier this week. But this is a 175. It's measuring out beautifully. I hi Lois. I regret to inform you, it turns out I still have knit picture under my house. This is knit picks thread. I have another basket that is knit picks thread, and both of these I bought years ago, and just haven't gotten around to making the items. And I thought I had gotten through all of the knit picture under my house, so that's on me. But this is a little shell stitch that is just a very easy repeat. I can tell, and I just got to do 13 rows of the exact same stitch and then start doing increases. So I love patterns like that. And it's a tie waist. It's gonna look amazing. I'm very excited about it. But I also I love these deep purples, and hopefully this year, because I'm trying to get through all the yarn in the house that I currently have. I don't use vintage hooks. It's really funny because this one, hold on. Woo. This one that's on the size 20 thread, and I'm doing it 2 hook sizes smaller. One of the things when I posted about it on Reddit about having the problem with the size, and people said, well, you've got to use vintage hooks. It turns out I do actually have a vintage, hold on. I have a vintage size 3 UK hook, which is what the pattern called for. So this is, and I was like, oh, well, I actually do have this. I'm gonna redo the chain. I'm gonna redo the starting chain of this. I'm gonna finish it on, like, it was a couple inches tall already, so I wasn't gonna backtrack completely. But I'm like, I'll get another skein of this. I'll work this. I'll work the chain stitches again. See what happens. Because I had people telling me that is what would fix the sizing issue of the chain being too long on the recommended hook. Exact same length as the modern 1.25 hooks. So I was able to rule that out as the problem. Oh yeah, the old Amazon delivery time roulette. It'll be here between 9 and 11. It'll be here between noon and 2. It'll be here between 4 and 6. Oh, that's so cool, Lois. Yeah, luckily the pattern for the Dicky, the person who put the pattern up gave the equivalent hook size in millimeters, so that was nice. But yeah, Lois, I actually got the vintage hook I was just showing because a friend's grandmother passed away, and they sent me all of the crochet stuff they found because they knew that I would appreciate it, and that was one of them. Was just the hooks, because I said, I said, are you sure you don't want to keep them? And the response was, well, you'll actually use them probably. I'm like, that's fair. And it's amazing too because it's that one, and so my friend is Canadian, which explains the UK hook. But then there's also like a Japanese size 4 hook, which is a size that comes up in vintage patterns as well. So I kind of got a great starter set of vintage hooks should I need them. Just because my friend was nice. And there was a handwritten copy of an Afghan pattern that I think she like copied out of a magazine or something at one point. And so yeah, I've got all the little bits and pieces, and I need to get my book scanner. So that's the big thing. If I can get my book scanner, I can actually scan all the paper stuff in my house that I want to. So I do still have my original hook, which is technically vintage at this point. I have the hook that I learned on. There's a size H, Susan Bates steel crochet hook. It is, I have worn the finish off it in places. And I try to only use ergonomic hooks now because, you can feel your joints a lot more when you're in your 40s. But I will still use that one for small projects sometimes just because, nostalgia. A raspberry jam sweater. So is it like colored like raspberry jam, or are you putting like a jam jar on the front of it? That was not the right. That's the row finish for the other thread project. Oh, I love a good raspberry. Oh, it's gonna look so pretty. Yeah, Trish, I actually have a set of the steel hooks from Clover on my wish list from Amazon because these are, no brand, and they worked great, but they're a little they're getting looser and looser in the fit, as I beat the crap out of them. And then my other set of steel hooks is also like no brand. Um, and like I do trust their sizing, but also uh, the amount of thread that I do and the amount and the fact that I know it's going to increase over time. Having another set of steel hooks is never a bad idea. Uh, but yeah, so I was like, if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna buy another set of steel hooks, let's get a set that are from like a trusted tool brand for crochet and like have one set in my house that I can be like, these are the steel hooks I actually do 100% trust, and won't come loose in their little housings and turn around on me. One of my ones shaped like this. The head is completely the opposite direction at this point. Um, so have I remembered to actually get rid of it? No. I am actually getting ready to make a sweater for a friend based off a sweater from a movie. And it's going to be like a really pretty navy blue. And I'm going to be buying the yarn for it not this coming week, but next week. So basically, I'm getting through my business trip. I am rewarding myself by buying even more yarn for my house. But I do not believe that making that sweater is going to cause me problems finishing up all the other yarn in the house this year. I don't need to be down to zero. I would just like to be. I like to see all the yarn disappear from storage and then just restock it. It'll actually be a worsted weight yarn. It will be the sweater. It's if you've seen Banshees of. I do have a craft lamp, so that will help with that stitching. Um, yeah, it's worsted weight. So it's there's a movie called Banshees of Inisherin, which I can never watch because Martin McDonough writes exactly two kinds of stories. Ones that I can watch and ones that I absolutely cannot watch. And this is the second type. But all the sweaters in that movie were actually hand knitted. And the person who I was talking to my friend about, like, I'll make you this sweater. I would love to, try this out. It's shaped very similar to the Louis Vuitton dupe I did last year. And that's how I found out that all of the sweaters were hand knitted. And that poor lady had like 2 weeks to make, I think it was 3 or 4 sweaters for grown ass men. And that is insane. And she must have been so sore when she was done. And, obviously mine will be crocheted, but I I think I'm ready to I'm really excited to have something to freehand that wild again. Um, I've been enjoying just sort of throwing yarn at things and seeing what happens. I would also die if someone came to me and said we need 3 grown ass men sweaters in 2 weeks. I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna go find an active volcano. I will be inside it if you need me. Well, and then I think about it because they were all DK weight, so not even worsted weight. I'm using DK weight. I'm using worsted weight because I want to get the color really right, and the yarn that she used, I'm having trouble finding in enough quantity. Because she talked about the yarn she used and everything, it was great. But then also, like, imagining doing that knitting, and I know you can get very, very fast at knitting the same way you can get very, very fast at crochet, but like crochet is always faster. Yeah. That was I would start digging a grave, yeah, pretty much. Oh, no, this isn't for me. This is for you and your stupid idea of how long it takes to make sweaters. Yeah, get in, get in. Oh man, the buttons on the cardigan. I ended up having to actually sew a part of the cardigan. I made a cardigan. If for anybody who doesn't know, and I got these really pretty buttons for it. That's what Trish is talking about, and I ended up having to do the old trick of sewing it closed between two buttons because the sweater kept going, what if we just gape right here? I'm like, what if we don't? You're supposed to fit and be and not do this. But I have sewing thread, so let's go. Yeah, like, all right, there we go. It was, I wonder if I can, let me see if I can find that again, that article. Like, it's just really like, you don't have to know anything about knitting. All you have to know is like how long it takes to make something. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Well, now that I'm pulling it up, I'm like, wait, I said 2 weeks. Was it 4 weeks? It was an absolutely unreasonable amount of time. So yeah, that link will give you the story of how the sweaters got knitted for that movie. Hey, but you finished it. I didn't do a button backing. I maybe should have. Although really the bigger problem I had with that sweater was the buttonholes were too big. Even though they were supposed to measure out the same, I buttoned them and they did not. So I ended up having to make the buttonholes smaller and reinforce them a little bit. And then as long as I was doing that, because the button that I was having, the space where it was gaping between the buttons is low enough down that I can get like the first 3 buttons open and just pull it over my head. And then, it's not a big deal to get on and off. It's not like a struggle. Yeah, in a lot of old patterns I've seen when they talk about adding buttons to something that's like lace work, they always want you to pop out the gross grain ribbon and sew that on the back so that the buttons have something to hold against. Which was like one of the first things I learned in a vintage pattern. I was like, oh. Oh, thumb holes. Cozy. Yeah, everything I'm working on right now is, well, I've got a new cosplay going, but you're not going to see that for a while. But I'm not doing anything super cozy right now, which is another reason I'm excited for the sweater. Just everything I'm working on is very small. It's a very small yarn. The grandmother who taught me to crochet tried to teach me all of the household arts, and one of them, and I've never met a sewing machine that wants to work with me, and I have accepted that. We also there was some cross stitch, and the cross stitch was supposed to lead to learning some more embroidery stitches, and I just never got that into the cross stitch. And the one thing that I got into, I'm doing right now. But it was a very fun thing to do in the summers, go to grandma's house and find out if I liked something that I'd seen her do 100 times. So that's always going to be a nice memory for me, is trying out all those other things that she learned, because that's what you learn to do in her generation. And I got this. I can knit, and if I wanted to, I could sit down and do it, but I don't like live stitches. I've realized that's why I don't like knitting, and I realized that because I was trying to Tunisian crochet again, and I hated it. I realized it was because of the live stitches. Um, but honestly, Tunisian crochet is like its own amazing art form. Like, yes, it's crochet, but it's kind of like Tunisian crochet is versus crochet is like doing freehand embroidery versus doing like a preset cross stitch. I feel like, and maybe it's me. Um, but it's just like it's such a different way of making a thing. But I mean, I also hairpin lace, which is also a form of crochet. This metaphor has just gone every other direction. Um, I actually have a hairpin lace project planned for this year that I'm excited about because I do like using the hairpin loom. I like the sounds it makes. It's a very clicky clacky sort of thing, and I don't know why that works for me and Tunisian doesn't because it is also a bunch of live stitches, but maybe it's because they're trapped on the on uh, the tool until you release them in a different way. Like if I drop the hairpin lace loom, it's not going to pop my stitches everywhere. Oh. Yeah, I'm really kind of amused. I've been seeing, I guess, analog hobbies is a buzzword now that just means have a hobby that isn't being on the internet, which definitely don't think that's a bad idea. And so crochet is getting talked about again, and it's always it's associated with grandmothers, and then the next line is, but you can learn it on YouTube. And I'm like, why do we keep saying it like it's a negative thing? It's associated with grandmothers because that's who taught us. And like, if you're learning on YouTube, cool, like whatever works for you. But like, please stop insulting my grandmother. She was an incredibly talented artist, and you are much like the "It's not your grandma's crochet" from 2005. And I'm like, yes, it is. That's she taught me, so still is a little bit her. Um, that's my crocheters for grannies rant that I go on every now and again, uh, which is like, why is that a bad thing? um, Hello everyone. I am stitching. I'm gonna have to figure out how to set the camera up so you can see my hands, but I also don't want it staring directly at my chest. But this is only my second official live stream, so I figure I'm allowed a few foibles. But this is the blouse pattern that is down in the description. It is size 10 thread. Um, and yeah, yeah, Lois. I mean, Lois, you're making that's exactly it. It's like you learn however you learn. But every time there's like a major publication that's doing anything about like, oh, this new trend in crochet, they have to be like, this isn't what your grandma made. I'm like, actually, as someone with a great deal of vintage patterns, grandma was making some cool shit. Um, Hairpin lace, where is it? Here it is. So this is a hairpin lace tool. They look a few different ways. You pop the top off, and then you wrap the thread or the yarn around the two stakes, and they're movable. And what will happen is in a hairpin lace pattern, it will tell you how wide this needs to be. It'll say set them up so they're like 1.5 inches apart. So, which I think is like here in this one. And so then you just make a bunch of loops with a single crochet in the middle, and you work however many loops they tell you to work, and then you just make strips, and then you have to sew them all together. And so it's very funny that I like hairpin lace when it requires a lot of sewing. Well, not sewing necessarily. You can join them in a bunch of different ways. The pattern will tell you, but like you have to make pieces that you then make into the larger piece by attaching them to one another by a secondary method. And so I've had this, oh my God. I've had this so long, I was still shopping at Hobby Lobby when I bought it. That's how old this is. Oh. That's been a while. Yeah. Yeah. And they think that the term hairpin lace was because it was something someone came up with using like an old hairpin that was like a U shape. Well, it wasn't an old hairpin at the time, it was just a hairpin. But one of those U shaped hairpins was how it kind of first got created. Um, you know, Trish about current generation finds doing crochet and fiber arts a way of unplugging. Like, I had the same feeling. I'm like, oh, I'm cool. No, I'm not cooler. And well, it's funny too because then I see people being like making YouTube videos about here's my analog craft of crochet. I'm like, is doing it to be offline and then bringing it online, is that the best? Is that the best line of thinking when the goal is to not be online with something? Personal thing. Irish crochet is really something special. Like, and it is literally what saved lives during the manufactured potato famine because of Britain. Um, Irish crochet is, and please correct me if I get this wrong, Lois, but it's motifs, and they're very pretty. They can get very, very detailed, and then it's about piecing them together into like very intricate, beautiful um, shawls, dresses. I've seen it. I've seen it done for gloves. I've seen it. Uh, it's a really definitely worth looking up, um, just to look at how beautiful it is. Absolutely gorgeous. Um, and it had a resurgence in the 70s. Irish crochet did, because I've got several patterns from the 70s and like I've seen even more. Um, which makes sense because that was kind of the resurgence of the Victorian vibe and Regency vibe in clothing, and that was when Irish lace was uh, probably um, at its cultural height. There, I'll say it like that. Yeah. Hairpin lace, the trick to hairpin lace is just finding what your rhythm is, because it is a little weird to work with originally, because like you're turning the tool every time you're making a stitch, and so you've got to keep your tension, but you can't get too tight or the stitches get weird. um and I always have to like do a strip just to get the vibe back before I start a project so that I don't ruin what I'm working on. Ooh, okay. Let's see. I will look that up and let me see. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm gonna... Another link incoming. Oh, it's too long. Hold on. All right, in that case, we are gonna do... That link was too long. All right. I know how to use technology. Really, I do. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you for this. There we go. There's Lucy. I just found a chair set with peacocks, and I just have to figure out if I'm actually going to do it as a thread project that will sit on the chair in the office, or if I want to get a big enough yarn to basically make a big peacock blanket, but using the thread pattern as the uh, the starting point. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching some of her videos. That's just beautiful stuff. And oh, are we interrupting you? The creature has awoken. Uh, she is. She didn't bark at any of the men working on the trees today, and then barked at the neighbor's dog. So she is in fine form. Yeah. Uh, the creature is my small dog who runs this whole damn house. She does not have any new clothes currently. She is wearing a little sweatshirt that makes her look like a dinosaur. So that's pretty great. She's very much been enjoying that it's warm enough to be out in the yard. Um, my mom is my mom makes stuff like Lucy. No, at least not on demand. Uh, like, or like it's not even just like the fanciness of the motif; it's having to get it all put together so it's shaped into what you want, and like it's a lot. I once had my mother call me. She wanted um mermaid blankets for... At the time she had uh 3 granddaughters and a grandson. There were now more grands in the family. She wanted a mermaid blanket each for the granddaughters, and then a shark blanket for the grandsons, the one that like are basically sleeping bags. And I was like, I wouldn't mind making them, but like, when do you want them? She goes, well, I wanted them for Christmas. It was the second week of December. I said no. I was like, I could have them for next Christmas. And she said, well, you stitch so fast. I'm like, no. Oh, that's so sweet that she framed it. Yeah. My grandmother has a couple of framed doilies. I meant to ask her what they are because she'd remember where they were from. And I forgot to ask the last time I talked to her. I should make a note. Um, yeah, like I barely make blankets for my own house. Uh, I'm not whipping out 4 of those things right before the holidays. I like being able to feel my thumbs. That's really impressive. There's a really nice stretch to this stitch pattern. I like that. That's good because this is a waist tie. It's supposed to be a wraparound. So knowing that is really good. Yeah. No, Trish, that was actually at that point I was actually doing commissions to make a little money because I think that was when I was unemployed, and so she was trying to give me a little work but didn't understand that it was a lot of work. Which is funny because she embroiders. She does like intense cross stitching. Uh and I would never presume to have any idea. I would never presume that she would have time to make like probably the equivalent in hours would be like a 4x4 cross stitch. I would guess just because cross stitching is very much a time commitment if you're doing anything with a lot of detail, and my mother loves the detail stuff. So, um, yeah, like if I called her right now, she's probably got 4 or 5 going. So, I definitely got the multiple projects in progress from somewhere. Do, do, do. No, that's right. Uh, all right. But yeah, I'm really liking the shell pattern. It's nice and easy. It's just a double crochet, a chain, a double crochet, a chain, a double crochet, and then you just keep doing that. I always like a stitch that looks fancy. Yeah, I got to give her that. Is her projects definitely store in smaller capacity than mine. I've got 2, 3. Okay, I've only got 4 buckets down here right now. That's pretty good. Um, although all right, 4 buckets and this thing. Uh, that's all the leftover yarn I'm going to be making mitts with. I just put it all into one thing so I would know where it was and could just keep adding to the pile of hand mitts. Uh, oh my god. Like 70 by 80 is big, and we've talked about how the thicker yarns are going to hit your hands. But like, does she have a pattern picked out or a yarn picked out for Marguerite, or is it just I want a blanket this big? Yeah. The only reason I'm organized at all is because I realized the only way I was ever going to actually use all the yarn in my house was to buy it for projects. And then the only way I was going to be able to find all of it when I wanted to make a project was to have a bucket system. And then I used to store everything in one of those like hanging shelves things you can always get for your closet. And then when we moved, I bought the chest. Well, actually, I bought the chest before we moved, and it was a pain in the ass the whole time because the old place was not big enough. But yeah, so now I like having the chest because it just helps keep the dust off better, and then also I really do have a finite amount of space that I can fill in there. But uh I do need to pick out a couple more worsted weight projects for the year because I was looking at everything that's in the chest the other day, kind of trying to plot out the next few months, and I realized I have I have worsted weight for for 2 bags. There's my camera. And then I have Lion Brand Rewind, which is a ribbon yarn. So I think it's a super bulky, but that's all just for one dress. And then basically everything else in the chest there's a little bit of sport weight, and then it's fingering weight or thread. So I need to diversify my yarn holding so I don't go crazy making tiny projects. Well, actually, the problem is that they're not tiny. They're all for like sweaters and short sets and blouses and things that will take time in tiny thread. What yarns? So I'm using Metallico from Hobby, which is, I think it's a polyester acrylic blend for one of the bags. And then I'm using just Red Heart. I have some Red Heart Super Saver. I did a pattern test for a friend, and the only Red Heart Super Saver that was on sale when Sean was doing the shopping was the jumbo skeins. So I have a lot of it. So I found a bag that can use up most of it. Well, then one of those other people should make it for her birthday. Like, young lady. My goodness. Like, no, I did not hear Hobby was having restructuring issues. I haven't been buying because, like you said, yarn diet. I've been like I said, I've been trying to use what I've got in the house. I had no idea. Oh no. I mean, you know what it might be? If they're laying off their live hosts, it might be they think AI can do a better job. And if that's the case, I hope they look forward to bringing those hosts back because it can't. It just can't. My company is wanting to use AI for more things in ways that I don't have a problem with. Because it can be a very good tool if you use it as a tool and not as a catch-all. But there was a big discussion about what is not good use of AI. Oh. Okay, so she wants a 70 by 80 blanket with a heart pattern in 3 months, and your thumb is already sore. Absolutely not. No. I'm gonna have to look into this hobby thing, Trish. I had no idea that it might. Oh, it's into the first quarter. I bet they had a rough second half of the year because of the tariffs. Yeah. Like, the thing about AI is there's so many things it's actually good at. Like, we've been using it to help with medical research for years and years and years, but then somebody was like, I made a chatbot, and everybody was like, well, we can just use the chatbot. I'm like, it's not going to work. Like, I have to, as the person who has to write the instructions for how to do things, I'm telling you, AI is not going to do it better than I do. Well, I'm really curious, tariff-wise, because the announcement is because the Supreme Court said the tariffs are not allowed. So I'm wondering how much longer they're going to be in place, and what's going to happen once the tariffs are gone is there's probably going to be a boom for all the places that have been hit hard like hobby, because of course when the thing that you buy for your hobby gets more expensive, you buy less of it because you're still trying to stay within the budget you had for your hobby. I really liked the way that they handled, like the tariff situation was messy and terrible, and they did a great job uh, explaining and keeping people updated. And then when they said, "Hey, just the price of the yarn is the price of the yarn," I'm like, perfect. That I don't need it broken out. I know the tariffs are there. Like, just what does it cost to get it now? Yeah, we were having a go at AI crochet patterns a little earlier, Lois. I think we've all been duped at least once. Never again. We were actually looking at patterns to figure it out if they were legit, and they do seem that they were legit, which was exciting. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's into first quarter, and into first quarter is when things like cutting live hosts happen, because you've got to convince the board or the shareholders or whoever it is that you're totally thinking about every last penny, when in fact, um, that may not have. I don't want to speculate on what decision they could have made instead of cutting staff, because I don't know. This is the first I'm hearing of it, and I'm sitting here talking like I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's always end of the first quarter that kind of stuff happens. That sucks. Yeah, yeah, I ended up freehanding what I actually bought the pattern to make, just because I got so mad at it being an AI pattern. The spite reared up inside of me, and I just figured it out. Yeah, I'm that's actually something I can do in my downtime next week. Uh, because I will have a lot of time to do. Well, I mean, I'll be working, but I'll have the evenings with no husband to hang out with or dog to walk. So I'll probably end up doing a deeper dive on that and seeing what's going on. But yeah, thanks for the heads up on that. I appreciate that. Time is it is 9:02. Okay, so I am gonna call it a night then. I do try to be pretty punctual about getting off of here, because I could sit here and talk with you all night. Um, and I currently do have a husband in the house and a dog, so priorities or something. Um, anyway, thank you everybody for hanging out and chit chatting and listening to me repeat what I was working on as people came and went. I really appreciate it. And next live stream will be the fourth Friday of uh, March, and this is what they are. We just hang out, and make fun. Woo, East Coast. Well, Eastern Standard Time. I'm not on the coast. uh, I'm basically Midwestern. Um, so thanks everybody, and I will talk to you soon. Videos will keep going as they go. So have a good one.